All right, everyone. Thank you so much indeed. We are back here, and we're getting started right now. Apologies for the initial glitch, but let's get straight to it, everyone, because we do not have time. A lot need to be said tonight, and these two men are already waiting to get started. Let me bring on stage, first and foremost, a former federal lawmaker, the incumbent governor of Delta State, and the vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome with me, Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And now, a former vice president who has been on the political scene for over 3 decades, perhaps one of Nigeria's most influential politicians. He was a candidate of the PDP in 2019, and now is carrying the mantle this time around for the People's Democratic Party. And the post is on the ballot, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much, and welcome, everyone. Nigerian people, this is about you, and you have the floor, because the hashtag is there for you to contribute wherever you may be watching. We begin first and foremost by hearing from the candidates their opening statement, and each of them will have 2 minutes to tell Nigerians why they're deserving of your vote at the February poll. I will begin with the vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Senator Ifeanyi Okowa. Your Excellencies, you have the option of either sitting or standing, whichever suits you. Thank you so much for coming. I'll allow you, Senator Okowa, for your opening statement. 2 minutes.
First, I want to thank Nigerians who are watching. We are in a critical situation in our nation, and we do know that the challenges are enormous. I'm very much convinced within myself that for us to be able to move forward, we need a team with experience, relevant experience. I'm very proud to be the vice presidential candidate to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, because I know that in the Nigerian situation that we have found ourselves at the moment, is the best position to be able to take us out of where we are. I've said this severally, I mean it, because I do know that his experience as the vice president between 1999 and 2007 is something that is going to be very relevant in Nigerian situation that we find ourselves. He is a man with lots of experience and with the humility, and somebody who is decentralized and is actually ready to communicate with Nigerians and to take every Nigerian along in an inclusive governance and government in which, together as a people, we can truly take Nigeria out of where we are into the Nigeria of our dream. Yes, I have my own experiences, I've been a local government chairman, I've been commissioner, I've been secretary to the state government, I've been a senator and now governor. That would be an added-on experience to what he has. But as to who is able to manage Nigeria in today's Nigeria, to take us out of where we are into the Nigeria of our dream, there is only one man out there, and that is Atiku Abubakar.
Thank you so much indeed. You are almost just about at the tick of time, as though you are timing yourself. Thank you so much. Let's listen to the presidential candidate of the PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, for your opening statement. 2 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Sean, and thank you, channels, for making this opportunity possible. Nigeria, just as my running mate said, is facing very, very serious challenges at this point in time. I don't think I have seen Nigeria go through such challenges since after the Civil War. Today we have a disunited country. Today we have the gravest economic challenge, as well as also security challenges. And our poverty rate is the worst. We are the headquarters of poverty in the world. And our unemployment is also the worst. Our educational system is in serious jeopardy. So these are by no means very mean challenges. They are very serious. And we need people who have the experience, who have the competence, and people who have the records. That, I believe, makes me unique among other contestants, not only of my experiences in governance, but in my experience in struggle for return of democracy in this country. Very many of us among the generation that fought the military, some lost their lives. People like me went on exile and came back and still continue with the struggles. We also participated in framing the current constitution, despite its shortcomings, but at least it was a step towards our democratic experience today. So having participated in all these struggles, from military struggles to democratic struggles, and then eventually having had the opportunity to serve as vice president, and we came across very, very similar challenges we are facing today, but maybe not as grave as we are having today, I think provides me with a unique opportunity to offer my services to Nigerians and also, to our own country. So I welcome this opportunity to exchange with Nigerians and also to listen to them. Not that we have not been listening to them, we have been listening to them quite all right, but I think perhaps this is an opportunity, to exchange ideas and views. We may not have, the complete and comprehensive solutions, but by listening to Nigerians, we can, of course, add value to what we have already proposed that we are going to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much indeed. Let me tell you that the reasons why we have provided this platform, and we're not doing it in the usual manner, is because we want an all-inclusive conversation. So you will see Nigerians from all sectors, from the economy to the security to the health, education, civil society, and in fact, you see children asking you questions today to tell you how inclusive these conversations are. And so it's up to Nigerians now. And ladies and gentlemen, what better way to start if you look at it? Security is a major issue in our country today. And of course, anyone who wants to lead this country needs to tell Nigerians how you need to fix security problem. The first person that will be asking the question of security is a well-known security consultant and expert. He's a former director with the DSS, Mr. Mike Ejiofor. Good to see you, Mr. Mike. Your questions. Now, let me tell Nigerians the reason why you see those who are asking questions reading from the script is because we want precision. We want people to be able to ask direct questions. Mr. Ejiofor, go ahead, please.
Yeah, good evening, Your Excellencies. Well, security is the bedrock for any meaningful development, and I know you have a lot of programs. Unfortunately, there are a series of security challenges in the country, especially separatist agitations in almost all the parts of the country. Now, I take Southeast geopolitical zone, for instance. Can you tell Nigerians what you intend to do differently, which possibly is not being done now to stem the tide? Specifically, do you intend to use political solutions to resolve IPOB agitations as against current government position? Related to these activities are the activities of unknown gunmen who have been wreaking havoc in the zone. If you intend to use political solutions of IPOB, how do you sieve the wheat from the chaff? That is addressing the political solutions of IPOB and at the same time isolating and identifying the unknown gunmen for appropriate action to stabilize the region. Then question 2 is that...
I think just pause on that.
Okay.
I like, so that we don't muddle up it's a very critical question, which I like. A lot of Nigerians who want to know what solutions you have towards that.
Like he said, every geopolitical zone has its own peculiar security challenge. He brought out the iPod issue in the Southeast. The iPod issue in the Southeast is basically, as far as my understanding is concerned, is about the realization of Biafra. Is it possible for Biafra to be realized today? How? By negotiations or by going through another civil war, which we can't afford to? So I believe we should be able to negotiate with the agitators from the Southeast as far as the issue of Biafra is concerned. We believe what they need is more autonomy as far as their sub-region is concerned. That is why we propose restructuring of the country, by which we mean devolution of more powers and resources. After all, there was Eastern Nigeria in the First Republic, and they developed at their own pace and with their own resources. So I see no reason why a middle-of-the-road solution, in other words, restructuring, devolution of more powers and resources, should not be a solution to their various agitations. The agitations are in different perspectives, to my understanding. One of it is political. And political has the sense of how does the Southeast, participate in power sharing in the country. And we are in a democratic society. There is no one single geopolitical, zone in this country that on its own can achieve political power without crossing the Niger or being in alliance with other geopolitical zones. I think this is what they should begin to think. Okay, how do they partner with other parts of the country to secure political power, for their own interests or to protect their own interests? I think these are the way to go as far as the agitations for iPod is concerned. I don't know whether my running mate has something to add, being also from almost about our neighbors, to the Southeast.
Essentially, our presidential candidate has laid the ground. He's told Nigerians what he intends to do. Strategic engagement is very important, but the principle also of being inclusive in governance is very important. Because I know that the Southeast have continued to also agitate as a result of the fact that they don't feel included. If you watch the security architecture of the current government, they don't appear to play any major roles. So they see themselves as excluded, in quotes, as if they are not part of this nation. That is not the type of government that Atiku wants to run. He's going to run an all-inclusive government in which every segment of this country will have a feeling of being part of the and part of the nation. That obviously, to a very large extent, will add on to the other steps that our presidential candidate will take by the time he assumes office on May 29, 2023.
Thank you so much. I would have said because of time, but quickly, Mr. Ejiofor, I will permit one more question from you.
Okay. My final question then is, there is general perception that provision of security funds at all levels of government are conduit pipes with which chief executives siphon government funds, and they generally believe, rightly or wrongly, that they are never accounted for. What's your take on this? Do you intend to retain it or scrap it?
That's means security votes.
Security votes, yes.
All
right. Security votes have been part of our governance since independence, and perhaps before independence. I think what is required is accountability of security votes where they are budgeted for. I think that is what is, absent in our current dispensation. So I will advocate for accountability of security votes rather than allowing chief executives, whether at local government level or state or at the federal level, to expand security votes as they like.
So has it been judiciously accounted for? Has it been used properly? I think that's the right word.
Of course, there have been abuses. There is no doubt about that. We cannot close our eyes to say that there have not been abuses of the utilization of security votes at the various levels of governance. And that's why I am advocating for an accountability institution as far as security votes are concerned. Just as like, you are called to account for budget provisions, you should be called to account also your security votes.
So you won't be calling for the scrapping?
No.
Okay. All right, let me allow yet another person. Mr. Kabiru Adamu is also a security consultant and the CEO of Beacon Consulting. Thank you so much, Mr. Adamu. It's good to see you again. Do you want to shoot your best question tonight?
I'll try. Your Excellencies, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for the well thought out covenant with Nigerians. I went through it, and I must say it's very impressive. I particularly narrowed down on my field, which is security. You divided it into 3 parts, and the part that excites me is what you intend to do. You listed a couple of things, and time would not allow me to read them all out, but I went through them, one after the other. The challenge is the methodology. We can relate with what you indicated you are going to do, but we couldn't find the methodology. So I have 3 questions. I don't know if I have time to ask them all, so I'll ask probably 2. One is security sector governance. I think it's very important. It's been discussed over security sector governance. There are 3 players in this space: the politicians, technocrats, and then civil servants. What do you have any plans to develop the capacity of these 3 players so that we have a security sector that is relevant for 2023 when post the election? So that is one. And then 2 is your understanding of security, Your Excellency. Modern day security is about human security. I know within the covenant you talked about it, but I would love to hear from you. What do you have in terms of addressing human security? Thank you.
I have been to several parts of the world. One of the security architecture I admire is the UAE security architecture. And it is primarily based on monitoring. You don't see policemen in uniform in UAE. You don't see soldiers. But virtually everybody is being monitored on a daily basis. And particularly if you are a visitor. From the moment you step into the country till you go out, anywhere you are going, you are being watched. And that is the deployment of technology as far as security is concerned. But that is to say, we are aiming at the ultimate. But we have to deal with our current security structure. How do we reform it to ensure that we give our people the most secure environment to undertake their own legitimate businesses wherever they may be, whether in the rural areas, semi-urban and urban, and so on and so forth. I think this is the most immediate requirement that any government should be doing now, because like the first questionnaire said, there is a security challenge in every geopolitical zone. And each geopolitical zone is peculiar. They may not necessarily be the same, but the security challenges remain there. So I think we have a 2-pronged approach I will rather adopt. One, how do we reform the current security structure to make sure we deliver security to everybody? And then secondly, in the medium to long term, then think of the ideal security. When it comes to, in terms of education, you will also find that we are more educated than UAE. So it is not only the issue of education. I think it's the issue of governance. So this is my initial response to your questions. I don't know, my running mate may have additional, to what I have said.
Yeah, in the covenant with Nigerians, as proposed by the presidential candidates, spoke about a whole lot of things. We do realize that you have the political class, the technocrats, and the civil servants. We must get everybody to work together and have the same thought process so that we're on the same pathway. There's no doubt as to that. Then we must recognize that as we begin to look into all the issues, we must be able to sit down and ensure that the technocrats within the various agencies that they interrelate with each other, we're able to continue to improve on the trainings, improve on the welfare, to ensure a total buy-in into the programs that have been laid forth. And I know that my presidential candidate, who will be president May 29, 2023, that definitely he's going to provide that critical leadership that will get everybody on board. We don't want a situation where people are working separately as if it's not one government. Whether you're a technocrat, you're in the civil service, or you're in the political class, the ball actually ends on his table. He provides that leadership that everybody has to follow. And I know that he's ready to provide that critical leadership, which is very, very important, definitely very important for us. And looking into various ways of interrelating beyond issues as to the kinetic approach, intelligence gathering, we must look futuristically at how to reduce the level of people who can be available for crime. And the way to do that is to ensure that we begin to create processes how Nigerians can be very gainfully employed. That is very important. It's in part of this process. It's very clearly stated in the covenant with Nigerians. And in that process, we do realize that the more we get our youth more gainfully employed, the more we get them to believe more in the Nigeria. And they can only believe more in Nigeria when you're providing that critical leadership that makes everything work, including the economy of the people, including employment. Then you have to sit out to want to commit crimes. So I'm going to sit out to want to commit crimes. I think there's a lot of process. Thank you for going through that covenant with Nigerians, and I think that document is to call on all Nigerians to truly read through. When they read through it, they will understand that we are best prepared for the job ahead.
Thank you, Excellency. Nigerians are really interested in this conversation of security, and some of them are already talking on social media. Let me show you some of their comments, which when I read, I know someone else is standing by on a security question. But take a look at what Della Wise on Twitter said, and this is his question. He says, what is Atiku position about Boko Haram and Okowa position about militancy should in case they rise up again? That's one. And there is Chidex on Facebook, and he's saying, what scientific method will you adopt to solve insecurity in Nigeria, because the analog method has failed us? Your Excellencies, I'll allow you to respond to those questions, but let's run for a break now. And when we return, these are genuine questions on your mind. I'll create a few more minutes for security before we go into the economy. But we take a breather, and when we come back, the People's Town Hall, your Town Hall, continues with the presidential candidates of the PDP and his running mate, Senator Ifeanyi Okowa. Stay with us, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, and welcome back. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, is on stage here alongside his running mate. They are running things tonight. As far as the questions on your mind, Senator Ifeanyi Okowa, the vice presidential candidate of the PDP, and they're answering the questions that you need to know ahead of the elections. And so earlier, before we went on break, I'll create just a few minutes more for security questions. There are these specific questions from the social media that I'd like you to deal with. And this is coming from Della Wise. He's on Twitter, and he's asking, first to you, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, he says, what is Atiku's position about Boko Haram? And to Senator Okowa, he said, what is your position about militancy should they arise again? Just about a minute for each of those responses.
I still cannot understand why we should have Boko Haram. You see, I served in Borno State when it was the Northeast. And as a custom officer, I was patrolling the entire Northeast. So I'm very, very conversant with the vegetation and with the border areas. I still cannot find a place in the Borno area where anybody can hide and cannot be seen. I cannot understand, honestly, the Boko Haram phenomenon. Sometimes when returning from Europe, 30 feet above, I could see a man walking in Borno State. So where is the place to hide? To the extent that they said there is a place called Zambisa. I've been there. I didn't see a forest. It's just shrubs here and there. So, and we have deployed the Nigerian military, which used to be the best, one of the best in the world. They have fought, you know, a number of international arena, and they have excelled. And here we are deploying the Nigerian military with its might and everything, and we just couldn't, eliminate Boko Haram. So I am puzzled. So maybe when I get there, I will understand, but honestly, I cannot understand the Boko Haram phenomenon.
Do you think that is politically motivated?
Everything is there. Everything is there. Shown, everything is there. Politics is there. Business is there. Security, everything is there.
Is there a solution to it?
Of course, the solution is leadership, strong leadership, to deal with all these interest groups within the military and outside the military.
Let me allow Senator Okowa on the issue of militancy. That's what Chirex was asking. Is there any answer to the issue of militancy?
First, I believe that once you provide the needed governance, it's unlikely that militancy will return again. You first want to ask yourself, what led to that? People felt ignored. People felt excluded from governance. They were not seeing the infrastructure. Their children didn't find the space to get properly educated, to get access to jobs. These were quite obvious. So in that frustration, you saw a lot of youths take to arms. But when Atiku Abubakar comes back, the leadership is so structured the way it is done that we're going to provide services that will reach out to all. We are going to ensure that people are carried along in the education sector, in the provision of startup jobs, in the provision of entrepreneurial skills, in ensuring that our people actually go to school and then they have the opportunity to be able to educate themselves and get gainfully employed, because we're going to make the economy work all over again. And with all this in place and the implementation, the full implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act, which is very important, where the communities are going to have a feeling of being included in governance, because in that act it provides for a community fund, that is host community fund, and that is enough to help them to develop themselves, to develop their children, to develop facilities beyond the facilities that government will provide. Beyond that, we're also going to ensure that we have an efficient NDDC, that works for the good of the people, carrying the people along, providing infrastructure, providing them with educational facilities and other opportunities. That's not what we have at the moment. So when you get all these things, when you make them functional, and the people can see the development, you are not going to see militancy come back again. In Delta State, by the time we came in 2015, it was really very tough for us. But by the time, after 2 years, by the time we had started providing infrastructure in the various communities in the creeks, which they thought that they could never really get, by the time we started making those provisions and we started engaging them, they realized that the best was to embrace government and to work together with government for further development. And we developed a lot of our communities severally. I don't have to name them, but various communities have been developed. So when people get to their ancestral homes, they can see the beauty of the place, and they have a sense of being part of Nigeria. That is the leadership that Atiku government is going to provide for Nigeria.
All right, quickly, I just have about 1 minute, 30 seconds on the issue of security, but I know Japheth is going to be the last person who will take on the issue of security, and when he does that, Your Excellencies, don't forget that Chide's question on scientific method that you will employ in fixing security. He said the manual or the analog method has failed us. But let's listen to Japheth. Japheth, your best question, and just in a few seconds. Go ahead.
Your Excellencies, thank you for availing yourselves to be part of this all-important conversation. I'll go straight to the point. The proliferation of light arms and small weapons is to a large extent responsible for the insecurity that is bedeviling our nation as we speak. What practical and viable interventions are you going to undertake in order to disarm and reintegrate these non-state actors who have taken up arms against the state? We have bandits in the northwest, we have insurgents in the northeast, and all of that.
All right.
And it's a serious issue. What practical, viable solutions are you going to undertake so that we mop up these arms, disarm these agitators, and then reintegrate them into the society?
Thank you, Japheth. Yeah. So I'm going to give you an onerous task of answering this question in just about 1.5 minutes, because economy is next and is also very important.
Again, I want to go back to a few years. In 2007, when I planned to run for president, I set up a special team to help me find solutions to the Niger Delta militancy. And one of their recommendations was, of course, at the end of the day, anyway, when I didn't win and handed over the recommendations to late Umaru Yar'Adua, and that led to the establishment of the policies as far as Niger Delta crisis is concerned, particularly the amnesty. The creation of the Niger Delta Ministry was one of the recommendations I handed over to him. But then what has happened to the Ministry of Niger Delta, with all the money that is being pumped into the ministry today? They could undertake one project, take the east-west road. They have enough money to do that road. But look at the state of the road today. So I think there will be need for us to re-examine these state, entities we have set up, specialized state entities we have set up to bring about soccer and reduce the tension within the populace to make sure that they deliver on what is actually the intention of government. So I believe this is one way we can get some of these agitations settled. But again, as posited, by Governor Okowa, bringing development, to the doorsteps of these communities in the Niger Delta area is also another way of making sure that, we cool down the restiveness in those communities.
The issue of the method, digital method, other than the analog, which the respondent said it has failed us. Just 20 seconds, if you may respond.
Well, I have already advocated for that because I tried to bring the experience of the UAE as far as, the technical aspect of security is concerned. I mean, today there are more than 10 million people residing in the UAE. And you don't see a policeman in uniform, hardly. But anywhere you go, you are being monitored. And the fact that you are being monitored will, of course, discourage you from committing a crime, because you know that if you commit a crime, you will be traced.
That's going to be a lot of resources to be able to procure those kind of gadgets. Where would you get the money from?
Not really. Because one single gadget, can give you an overview of what is happening in this.
What about electricity electricity is...
Of course, we have to provide electricity to power them.